Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Anachari. Yamuna Tira Anachari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Anachari. Yamuna Tira Anachari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajikacharya Ashtottara Sati Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Himsika Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Madhvip Dham ki jai, Dham ki jai, Devi ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Yamuna Mayi ki jai, Ganga Mayi ki jai, Vrinda ki jai. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Lord Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto. Chapter 17, Maharaj Prithu becomes angry at the earth. Text 22. Prithu Vacha Vasude Tvam Padhishyami Mat Chasana Rakmukim Agam Parhishi Ya Te Na Tanoti Cha Naha Vasu Rituravacha Vasude Tvam Vadishyami Machchasana Paranmukim Agam Parishya Vrinkte Natanoti Chano Vasu Rituruvacha Vasude Tvam Vadishyami Machchasana Paranmukim Bhagam Parishya Vrinkte Natanoti Chano Vasu Rituruvacha Vasude Tvam Vadishyami Machchasana Paranmukim Agam Parishya Vrinkte Natanoti Chano Vasu Vasudeva Tvam Vadishyami Machchasana Paranmukim Agam Parishya Vrinkte Nataroti Chano Vasu Praturuvacha Vasude Tvam Vadishyami Machchasana Paranmukim Agam Parishya Vrinkte Natanoti Chano Vasu Praturuvacha Vasudevetam Vrishami Majjasana Paranmukim Agambarishya Vrinte Natanoti Chanovasu. More chanting. Vasudevatam Vrishami Majjasana Paranmukim Majjasana Parammukim Agambarishya Vrinte Natanoti Chano. Ladies. Vasudevam Vadishyami Majjasana Parammukim Agambarishya Vrinte Nataroti Chanavasu. Vadetam Vadishyami Majjasana Parammukim Agambarishya Vrinte Prithu Uvacha. King Prithu replied, Vasudev, my dear earthly planet, you, Dishami, I shall kill. But my Shasana rulings, Parak Mukim, disobedient to Agam, your share, Barhishi, in the Yagya, Ya, who, Bringte, accepts, Na, not, Tanoti, does deliver, Cha, and to us, Vasu, produce. Translation. King Prithu replied to the earthly planet, my dear earth, you have disobeyed my orders rulings, form of a demigod, you accepted your share of the yajnas we performed. But in return, you have not produced sufficient food grains. For this reason, I must kill you.
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, the cow-shaped earthly planet submitted that she not only was a woman, but was innocent and sinless as well.
That means that the earth as one of the material elements, that's one aspect. That's the earth deity's energy. Like, for example, you could say, the king, his energy is his kingdom. In one sense, kingdom is the king. Sometimes people say, in this kingdom, the king is everywhere, he's everything, belongs to him. Similarly, there are different rivers, Jamuna, Ganga, Saraswati. Mostly they're female. They're energies of the Lord. That's one aspect. But then they also may manifest forms as demigoddesses and demigods. They have their energies, but then they have their form, which is also material form. Demigod's form is also material. But they have these mystic powers. They can appear in a female form, female demigod form, or human form, or in the form of the earth, form of water. But they also have their spiritual form, which is not manifested until one goes back to Godhead generally. It's covered. The point is here that the earth took the shape of a cow, Boo, and Vasudha. You can leave that. So, she assumed that form because, like the Mother Earth, Mother Cow, there are 7 mothers: Adho Mata, Guru Padni, Brahmani, Rajika, Dhatu, Prithvi, Dhatu, Tata Prithvi, Denu Dhatri, Tata Prithvi, Daiva, Mata, these 7 mothers. The original mother, biological, O Mata, Guru Padni, the wife of the Guru, is a mother. Brahmani, the wife of the Brahmin. Ragi, the wife of the king, the queen. Denu, Dhatri, Denu, Dhatu, Dhatri, Prithvi, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. These are the 7 mothers. So, look to position of a cow, form of a cow. Continue.
Thus she argued that she should not be killed Besides, she pointed out that being perfectly religious minded, the king could not violate the religious principles that forbade killing a woman. In reply, Maharaj Prithu informed her that first of all, she had disobeyed his orders.
Generally, women are not given the same kind of punishments that men are given. A woman commits a murder, generally, or something like that, generally they're not killed in the Vedic system. They're forgiven. Even there's some semblance of that in present-day society. A man kills someone in cold blood. He's liable to be given the death penalty. But a woman is less liable because they're considered to be more like an adolescent rather than fully responsible. But there are some exceptional cases. In the Garga Samhita, working with Garga Samhita, there's a section where Pradumna is speaking and explained that even if a woman behaves improperly, given that working again? Can be given the death penalty. We'll see. She's making her argument. I'm a woman. It's like a child. A man who's under the age of, at least in America, under the age of 18, he does some abominable action, not given the death penalty. In fact, he's judged in a completely different way as a minor, not fully developed the complete discriminatory faculties. But when he reaches adulthood, then he's supposed to know. So she was using, I'm a woman, don't punish me. We'll see whether Prithu accepts that argument or not. Doesn't look like he's accepting it. Can you?
This was her first sinful activity. Secondly, he accused her of taking her share of the yajnas, sacrifices, but not producing sufficient food grains in return.
Bhumandala, you take the whole Bhumandala as Earth, not just our small planet, Earth, the whole Bhumandala, extending throughout the whole diameter of the universe. Very big land. And her argument is that people were so sinful that I withheld the produce. And Prabhupada often gives that cites that example that if the people are impious means primarily 4 sinful activities: illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, meat eating. These are considered the pillars of sinful life. When these sinful activities are going on, the earth, not just the earth, but all the demigods withhold their resources. There will be all kinds of irregularities. For example, when there's a desert, that means it's a place of sinful activities. It's extremely cold, place of sinful activities. Prabhupada pointed out that India, Bharatvarsha, Punya Bhumi, and therefore the climate is ideal. You see, 1 billion people are living in this country that's 1/4 the size of the United States. Right? You're not importing grains from anywhere else. Well, the grains, everything is being produced here. The way it should be. Everyone should produce their own food grains. Now, someone may say, but what happens to the people who live up in North Pole, the South Pole? Prabhupada said, why do you want to live there? What is the mentality? Why would you want to live in such a horrible place? Only have to eat whale blubber. You know what whale blubber is? You know what whale is? Well, the flesh of the whale is called blubber.
उसका मांस है, उसको ब्लबर बोलते हैं.
Oh, that's what they eat, whale blubber. Why would you live there? Because they don't know the purpose of life. They think the purpose of life is to eat whale blubber, have sense gratification. But if the purpose of life is self-realization, then why not locate yourself in a place that's conducive for obtaining self-realization, where you can live simply? That's why great criticism against foreigners who introduce factories into India. That was not a good introduction. That was very detrimental, because India is ideal for agriculture. Anyone can take an acre of land or a few acres of land, a cow, grow his own food grains, keep the cow, and his economic problem solved. He lives at home, he lives with his family. But no, they bring them to the city, put them in the hellish factory. It's so hellish, then he has to eat food outside because he can't grow his own food. He's working in the hellish factory, eating food prepared by others, working all day away from the home. And then he's in miserable consciousness because spiritual activities are practically stopped in the city, isn't it? Factories. Well, then he's in such miserable consciousness, he needs some intoxication for enjoyment, or brothels, meat eating. All these things come. We don't see these things in the villages. Of course, now they're trying, with television, you can thank America for that. Thank America for many wonderful things. Bollywood. So many things that are detrimental for spiritual advancement. Therefore, Gandhi was correct in the sense that he wanted to have people of India depend on the land and get away from the factories, and he boycotted the goods produced by the foreigners. So that was a beneficial idea. Wasn't complete because he didn't give the ultimate goal, prema pamartha mahan. Fifth dimension of the goals of life. Prema means for Krishna, love for Krishna. So if one makes loving Krishna the goal of his life, then everything will be adjusted nicely. Like I preach a lot in America, and I see many people who get themselves in very difficult positions in America. Extremely high debts, credit cards. They give you credit cards, they give you money just to take the card. What is the reason behind it? Because they know once you have the credit card, you'll become addicted. And you'll buy things because of greed that you can't afford. But because you have to keep up with the Joneses, next door neighbor has a new car. What are you going to do? Your wife says, honey, did you notice the car they have next door? You know what year our car is? Our car is 10 years old. Now, how can I send my children to school? My poor children will be ridiculed at school for having a car that's 10 years old. Can't you get us a new car? Well, honey, we don't have enough money to buy a new car. That's okay, you have a credit card, you have a credit line of $40,000. Get one of those nice, here, let me show you. You get the idea. Well, they're in complete anxiety, and they have to take intoxication, and they have to watch television, go to the movies, and engage in so many other sinful activities. They forget the purpose of life. So many diversions, sports. Not that these sports are so wholesome and wonderful. They're simply wasting time. Just like the dog. If you take the ball and you throw the ball, the dog will run after it, bring it back, throw it again, he'll go get it again, throw it again. He's quite happy with that because that's his intelligence. He thinks that the life is just meant for enjoying his senses and running after balls. But actually, it's not. It's meant giving up balls, giving up all these sports. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, even when he was a child, he didn't indulge in mundane sports. He was not interested. He was engaged in the transcendental sports of kirtan. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnupada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani Vedanam. That's real recreation. Isn't it? Just like if you've ever seen, I remember when I was a new devotee, they gave me the service to join two older devotees. We were supposed to go to the docks, the ship docks, and pick up the books and magazines that had come in from Dai Nippon in Japan. That was our printer at that time. So I went with them, and I don't know how many boxes, but there were many, many boxes. It was an ocean, a mountain of boxes. We had to unload them from the docks, put them on our truck. And these devotees, it was like a complete sport for them. They were lifting the boxes and moving them. It was just like They were completely in recreation. It wasn't work. Ordinarily, if you take materialists and say, we have this big mountain of boxes we need to, they're very heavy also. They weren't light. We have to move them. Can you do it as a voluntary thing? No. They won't volunteer. They need to be paid. But these devotees were doing it voluntarily and were enjoying it. That's how devotional service should be performed. Susukam kartamavayam. Joyfully performed. With a thrill, not just for a moment, but a thrill at every moment. So we should try to perform our devotional service. Then there's no need for sporting activities, wasting time. Krishna's activities are called pastimes, lila. His different sports in Vrindavan and in Dwarka, wherever he goes. Lord Chaitanya's dancing. He asked Prabhupada, what's the recreation in Krishna consciousness? He said, dancing, feasting. This recreation also is good exercise, or paying obeisances, if you like, and pay dandabats to all the Vaishnavas. It's very good exercise. Keep the body fit and go back to Godhead. Actually, you can't keep this body fit forever because it's planned obsolescence.
सदैव नवयौवन में रख नहीं सकते क्योंकि उसका अपना जीर्णित होने की प्रक्रिया है.
Not meant to last 100 years maximum. Then you have to give up this body altogether and get another body. And if you're not intelligent, you think, well, you don't think about the next body. You just think about this body and you try to hold on to it. When you get old, you try to spend all your whatever money you've saved up for giving to the doctors so that they can find a cure or something like that. Instead, why not put one's energy into getting a spiritual body that never grows old, never dies, never becomes diseased? That's a solution. One solution solves all problems. That's intelligence. Intelligent person doesn't waste time trying to hold on to this miserable body. So, when the yajnas are performed, sacrifices, then the demigods are pleased. Yajna. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, when the sacrifices are performed, the demigods are pleased, and they will supply all the necessities to man. The demigods are the agents of the Lord for managing the universe, and sacrifices are meant to be performed to please the demigods. That's recommended. Perform sacrifices. Just like Prithu Maharaj said, you got your share. In other words, there's two ways. They perform sacrifice to the demigods, but still the Yagyapati is Vishnu. So even when sacrifices are offered to the demigods, they're given to Vishnu first, and then they're given to the demigods sadam. But if one worships Krishna directly, he doesn't have to worship the demigods separately. Because Krishna takes care of all that. He makes sure. Because he's the maintainer of the demigods. It's not that the demigods are separate. 33 crores of demigods, 330 million demigods. They're all working under his direction. Madihi Devanam. He's the source of the demigods. Ishvara Parama Krishna. He proved that in Vrindavan, when the residents of Vrindavan were worshipping Indra Yagya. Krishna, as a child, said, you don't need to worship Indra. Not required. Essentially, he was saying, worship me, because he didn't say directly worship him, because that would be out of character, because he wasn't presenting himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was presenting himself as a little son of Nanda Maharaj, so it wouldn't have been appropriate to say, worship me. He said, worship Govardhan Hill, but then he manifested a form of Govardhan Hill. He wanted to show them, so basically what he was asking is, worship me, do what I say, even if it's above the Vedas, even if it's different than what the Vedas said, because Vedas enjoined that worship of the demigods is acceptable, although it's not the highest worship. Kamais taistar harita jnana prapajyantenya devata. Those who worship the demigods, they haven't really understood the conclusion of the Vedas. They've understood some of the beginning points, just like a child knows addition. 1 and 1 equals 2 up to 10 or 12. He knows. But if you give him a harder, difficult problem, he can't deal with it. So the beginners, they worship the demigods because it's easy. You worship the demigods, you get results. That's not really the ultimate purpose of the Vedas. Vedaischa sarvaira hameva vejo vedanta veda vedeva chaham vedanta krit. The ultimate purpose of the Vedas is to come to Krishna, to become a lover of Krishna. And simple living, high thinking are best for that. We've complicated everything. We've made it so that people generally don't even grow their own food locally. For example, when Prabhupada went to Mauritius, noticed that they were growing mostly sugar cane. Still they're doing that. They said, why are you growing sugar cane? Of course he knew the answer, but why don't you grow your own food locally? It's the ideal climate. Hare Krishna. But they were growing sugar cane so they could sell it abroad to foreigners who didn't have such a good climate. Then they get foreign currency, and then they can import all kinds of liquor and material things for sense gratification. But that's not the purpose of life. We should avoid things that are not favorable for the discharge of devotional service. We should accept things that are favorable. We're addicted to city life. It's very difficult when one becomes addicted to city life. Hard to make spiritual progress unless one associates with the devotees. There are one who lives in country is said to be in the mode of goodness. One who lives in the city in the mode of passion. One who lives in a liquor shop or a brothel, mode of ignorance. But one who lives in a Krishna temple transcendental. He's in Vaikuntha. These temples, that's why I heard that 2 days, 4 more temples will be opened in Delhi, bringing the total up to 15. Is that correct information? You didn't know that? This is a great accomplishment. I think there's no other city in the world that has 15 ISKCON temples. Yes, Krishna will supply. We're thinking, wow, 1 temple per city. Let's not overdo it. We don't want to. How will we maintain more than 1 temple? Oh, there can be a temple in every home. Krishna is happy to maintain. He's maintaining everyone. Maintaining the demons. Why should he not maintain the devotees? Maintaining the elephants, 40 kilos a day. Why not someone who's dedicated life and soul? So this is a very good example, and I'm impressed, inspired that so many temples. Prabhupada said in many cities there should be this, he'd give some large number and everyone was amazed what Prabhupada was saying. Even we see in the West, there are Christian churches all over a city. There may be dozens and dozens and dozens, and it's hundreds. Go in the yellow pages, you'll see. In other words, what's the problem with having so many temples? That way the local people can, it makes it easier for them. They don't have to go so far. Because people, manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagya, they're lazy. We have to go half hour. Oh, difficult. But if there's a temple right across the street, I know in my case, I was so fortunate that I was raised in a place called Culver City. It's a part of Los Angeles. And I wasn't interested in spiritual life at all, but Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna made their causeless mercy to open a temple in Culver City. So it was very easy for me to go there, just a few blocks away. Very fortunate. I like the idea of many temples make it easy for people. So any questions?
Thank you very much, Maharaj Shri, for focusing the duty of king and responsibility of subject, and on the 50 golden jubilee of ISKCON. I would like to speak in you Hindi, and that interpreter will convey you in English. आपको परम श्रद्धेय महाराज श्री बहुत बहुत हार्दिक धन्यवाद करते हैं कि 50वीं वर्षगांठ पर ISKCON के आपने प्रवचन दिया.
One second. Other English speakers here.
Okay. आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करते हैं कि आपने अपना सार्थक वचन हम सबको श्रवण करवाया.
I'm grateful to you that you have given us your enlightening words.
और श्रील प्रभुपाद की कृपा से ISKCON का जो है 50वां वर्षगांठ अब
And by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, this is the 50th year of ISKCON's inception.
जैसा कि आपने उद्बोधन में बतलाया,
Like you mentioned earlier,
कि पृथु महाराज ने किस तरह से पृथ्वी माता के लिए कार्य किया और धर्म की स्थापना और रक्षा के लिए.
how he worked for Mother Earth and established the principles of Dharma.
तो पहले राजतंत्र की व्यवस्था होती थी.
Earlier there used to be administration through, earlier there used to be royal administration.
और जनता राजा को चुनती नहीं थी, बल्कि राजा परंपरा से खानदानी आते थे.
Those days citizens and subjects didn't used to elect the king, but he used to come through hierarchy and through succession.
आज दुनिया के करीब करीब 90% कंट्रीज में
Today 90% of the countries of the world,
जनता के द्वारा जो है शासन तंत्र का चुनाव किया जाता है.
it is the people who elect the government of the country.
और मोस्टली देशों में जो शासन व्यवस्था है वह सेक्युलर सिस्टम का हो चुका है, पंथ निरपेक्ष व्यवस्था है.
Mostly the administrative and governing system in countries has become secular.
और शासन तंत्र जनता से यह कहता है कि आप अपनी इच्छा से किसी भी धर्म के अनुयायी बन सकते हो, इसमें हमारी कोई दखलंदाजी नहीं है.
And the government says that there will be no interference from us. You could practice any religion that you desire.
और जनता आज इतनी ढीठ और गैर जिम्मेदार हो गई है कि कानून और सिस्टम को मानने को तैयार नहीं है.
And people have become so irresponsible and stubborn that they're not willing to follow any system and law.
और हम केवल एक शब्द बोल के अपनी जिम्मेदारी की तस्री कर लेते हैं कि यह कलयुग है, कुछ नहीं किया जा सकता है.
And we give up our responsibility merely by hiding behind the excuse that this is Kali Yuga and nothing can be done.
यहाँ तक कि धार्मिक क्षेत्रों में ढोंग, पाखंड और व्यापार का बोलबाला होता जा रहा है.
There is commercial indulgence as well as cheating and fake activities in religion. What is the question?
या आई एम एट द क्वेश्चन, इसका क्या समाधान है?
What is the resolution for this?
Yes, the resolution is Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, Kalo nasteva, 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 Katiranyata. Kali Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar. The Lord has incarnated in this age as the holy name. Sankirtan movement, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai, Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. By chanting, by Sankirtan Yagya, all the problems of the world can be eliminated. That's the only way. If you held protests, or you have United Nations, or you have League of Nations, it doesn't solve the problem. They've been trying for hundreds and thousands of years to have peaceful coexistence. There's no peace, there's no satisfaction, there's no happiness, just miseries because they've forgotten Krishna. So the leaders are responsible, of course, to some degree, but as you pointed out, citizens are also responsible because they're electing bad leaders. The citizens should say, we don't want these bad leaders anymore. We demand that the leaders have to give up eating meat, give up intoxication, illicit sex, gambling. Then we'll vote for you. Thank you very much for that question. Yes? Pleasure. I think this will be the last question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for your very wonderful lecture. There were very good information which you shared, but unfortunately I missed some of the initial parts. Maharaj, as you were saying about Indra, I recently heard that the Lord says Indrari, there is something, Indrari Yuge Yuge. The Lord comes to protect the position of Indra. The meaning they said this. And I also just recently read...
Protect what?
Indrari Vyakulam Yoge, Vigyanti Yuge Yuge. So the Lord comes to protect the position of Indra. And I recently read in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Indra is very lusty and he how to say that? He raped one sage's wife and the sage cursed him, and then he had marks all over his body. So how to understand if Indra is not a pure devotee and he is doing such things and the Lord comes to protect, of course maybe the position of Indra, but as sometimes we hear that if there is no proper manager, then the Lord comes as Brahma, as Shiva.
Okay. Thank you for that question. Demigods are devotees. There is a devotee, but sometimes, as you pointed out, he gets carried away with his position. Very powerful, he's very handsome, he's very wealthy, he has all mystic powers, has a very long lifespan. So that's what happens. What is that verse? Queen Kunti says, Janmaishvarya Shruti Shribir Edavana Badakpaman Naivarhat Yabadhav Tumbai Twamakinchana Gochar. It's difficult to remember Krishna and take shelter of him when you have great material opulence. Therefore, material opulences are not necessarily considered a benediction. Although people want that, they think if I have material benediction, I'm getting God's grace. That's God's grace partially, but real God's grace is you get His mercy in the form of pure devotional service. So Indra sometimes forgets. Remember, he lives for a long time, so he doesn't forget all the time. Most of the time, he's doing wonderful service, fighting against the demons. When the demons come forward, the big demons, it's Indra's first one there. Aren't you happy? You're happy that Indra fights the demons? Otherwise, the demons would be ruling. Now you may say, well, they're ruling here. But at least they're not ruling the universe. It would be a lot worse. And when Indra does forget, then he gets chastised, and Krishna either comes personally to chastise him, or he gets the reactions. And he learns. But it's like our devotees, or like Prabhupada when he came to the West. He had a mission to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And he took whoever volunteered. They may not have been so pure. But Prabhupada said, all right, here, you take this, clean the floor. You help with this, go out, go on chanting. They weren't all pure. If they were all pure, they'd still be fully engaged. But they weren't all. But still, he engaged them. It was good for them and good for the world. So, demigods may not be pure devotees, but they're devotees. And there's a story, and I'll just finish with this one point, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in that song, Narad Muni Bajai Vina Radhika Rama Name. And he sings there that Brahma begins chanting, Indra begins chanting, all the different demigods are chanting the holy names of Krishna. Narad Muni Bajai Vina Radhika Ramanana. So the demigods, they love kirtan, but a lot of opulence, sometimes power, they become carried away temporarily, corrected by Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Danveer Goswami Maharaj ki jai.